What's going on, family? This is your boy, Reverend Josh, and this is the very first episode of The Give and Go, where we give you the word in a concise package for all my people on the go. Let's get into it.
Hey, praise the
The Give and Go, where we give you the word in a concise package for all my people on the go.
you say, let's get it in. Let's get it in, big dog.
Look, as y'all can tell, I'm busy. I'm in the studio right now. I got a lot of projects I'm working on, but I had to stop for just a minute because we're going into a new year. And I've been watching all of the Instagram posts, all of the memes, all of your goals and your dreams, and the lady on the stair steps about what you're going to do in the brand new year. And that's beautiful. But I came with a word from the Lord, sort of kind of, to tell you that you won't do any of that stuff. None of it. Unless, drum roll please, you develop self-discipline. I develop self-discipline. Listen, sometimes we are our own worst enemy. And God says, I've got so much more in store for you, even in this next season, this next year of your life. But in order to get it, you've got to develop self-discipline. And that's what Paul tries to teach us when he's teaching the church at Corinth in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24 through 27. Let me read it for you real quick. It says, don't you realize that in a race, everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. So I run with purpose in every step. I'm not just shadow boxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified. All right, so let me give you 3 ideas from the text that I think are important for us to develop self-discipline so that we can crush all of our goals for the next year. And the first thing that the text teaches us is that in order for us to crush our goals in the new year, you've got to forget everyone. Now listen, let me say it slowly. Forget everyone. And that doesn't mean that you got to cut everybody off. That doesn't mean, well, I'm going through my phone and I'm blocking everybody. But Paul says when we start running this race, everybody runs the race, but only one person gets the prize. He says, so run so that you get the prize. What I'm trying to say is that all of us go into situations where we compare ourselves to other people. We want to be like this person, or we want to be like that person, or we feel like we can win doing what everyone else is doing. Let me give you a principle for today. If you run like everyone, you'll get everyone results. Let me say it slow. If you run your race like everyone, you'll get everyone results. Listen, I got a friend of mine out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who reminded me that because he is anointed and appointed to do some special things, he just couldn't do what everyone else is doing in their race. There's some places that everyone is going that you can't go. There's some things that everyone is taking in that you can't take into your space or your spirit because you're running to win the prize. All right, number 2, be intentional and be the authority. So Paul says, I don't run this race like I'm shadow boxing. I'm running with purpose in every step. That's being intentional. That if we're going to win the race, if we're going to crush those goals for the new year, then we have to think through what we're trying to accomplish and how do we get there. Every great athlete has to think about their workout plan, has to think about what they're eating, their meal prepping and all that. So it is with our spiritual lives and our development as people on this earth. You got to be intentional, thinking through the steps. What do I need to do to get to the place where I'm trying to go before you run out on the track? All right? So we have to be intentional, but also be the authority. Listen to what Paul says. Paul says, I had to discipline myself. I had to train myself, bring my body, some translations say, into submission, into subjection, so that as I preach, I don't disqualify myself. This is what Paul is communicating to us, that Paul is the authority in the situation. His flesh, his body doesn't tell him what to do. Paul says, I train it. I control my body. I discipline my body so that it does what it should. That's what we have to do in our own lives. Because here's what I've learned, that if you don't train and develop and discipline your flesh will train, develop, and discipline you. All right? So you be the authority. You tell your body, you tell your flesh what to do so that ultimately you can win the prize. All right, so let's break it down. Point number 1, you have to erase everyone. Point number 2, you have to be intentional and be the authority. But the final point is, here it is, you have to know your opponent. This is what Paul says. Paul says, I had to discipline myself. I had to bring my body into subjection and into submission. I had to discipline myself so that I wouldn't be out here preaching to everybody, and while I'm preaching to them, I disqualify myself. Ooh-wee! Good gracious God. Listen, there is a word in that, because Paul says at the end of the day, the only person that could stop me and disqualify me from getting the prize that I deserve and from crushing those goals that I have, it's myself. I could disqualify myself. Paul knows who the real opponent is. I'll tell you this story and then I'll be done. My wife and I, we were hanging out at AMF Bowling Alley just a few days ago, and it was crazy to me because I don't even know why she challenges me to bowling. I love to bowl. It's just what I do. So the first game was a warm-up game. I won the game 107-67. Crushed her. 40-point blowout. I was feeling good. I was just getting warmed up. The second game, though, was nowhere near as close. When we got to the final frame, the score was 130, and I just finished. She was up, and she was at 111. 130 to 111. And when I did the calculations, I said, babe, listen, you can still win the game if you roll a couple strikes. She looked up to the score, said something that blessed me for the rest of my life. She said, oh, I already won because I beat myself. Listen to me. She knew who the real opponent was. She wasn't battling me. She was trying to beat herself. And I come to tell somebody that if you're going to crush your goals in the new year, you got to know who your true opponent is. I'm not battling against any of my peers. I'm not even battling against all these enemies that people are creating for themselves. I'm battling against myself. And I have to bring self-discipline to the table so that at the end of the day, I don't disqualify myself from the prize that I know I want to get in the new year. All right, so let's break it down. Those three, one more time. All right, number 1, if we are going to crush our goals through self-discipline, we have to erase everyone, all right? I can't run everyone's race because I'm racing to get the prize. Number 2, we have to be intentional about our preparation and be the authority. My flesh doesn't control me. I control it. I tell it what to do. And finally, you have to know who your opponent is. I'm not battling against anybody else. I don't want to disqualify myself. So here's your homework. Got some homework for you. I want you to go and I want you to look at what are 3 areas in my life where I know I need more self-discipline. And then after you identify those 3, why don't you come up with 2 ways that you can train yourself, discipline yourself, bring your body into submission so that you can crush your goals in the new year. And I want to hear about it. I want you to go and subscribe. If you want more of these episodes, I want you to go down and subscribe. I want you to go down to the comment section so that you can tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do in the new year in terms of self-discipline, bringing yourself. And then let me know about it. You can let me know about it on Instagram, on Twitter. My handle is the same, @JoshInPursuit. Let's talk about it so that we can all go into the new year and crush it. All right? So this is your boy, Reverend Josh. This is episode 1 of the Give and Go. I hope it's been a blessing to you. Subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.